Here's an image that shows the anatomy of a kruhotvar. If you want to take a closer look at the image, you can download it from http://tinyurl.com/kruhotvar. In this lesson, however, we'll delve deeper into the understanding of how Kruhotvary are being created. To do that, please have a mental image of a fully transparent square canvas. Using your mind's imagination, draw a circle on that canvas, as well as the horizontal and vertical coordinates going through the center of the circle. The entire Kruhotvar, whatever Kruhotvar we make, will always be confined to the inside of this imaginary circle. A Kruhotvar consists of several layers stacked on top of each other. We'll refer to the first of these layers as layer 0. The one on top of the layer 0 will be layer 1, the one on top of that layer 2, and so on. We start creating a new Kruhotvar by placing something on layer 0. It can be a physical object, or we can draw, paint, or sculpt a shape. It can be one object or a group of several objects. Whatever is on layer 0 is the main determinant of what the final Kruhotvar will look like. So preparing layer 0 really is the most important step in the Kruhotvar design. For now, we'll just draw a white line that starts very close to the center of our imaginary circle, then moves toward its outer edge, without ever crossing it. The line bends randomly several times. It is very narrow near the center of the circle, but widens as it is moving toward the edge. There's nothing special about that line. It's not a piece of art, nor is it an engineering miracle. It's just a scribble. This is important as it shows that anyone, young, old, famous, unknown, a great artist, or just someone having fun, anyone at all, can create quite a good-looking Kruhotvar by simply following these instructions. Anyway, layer 0 contains anything we put on it. All of the remaining layers will contain a duplicate of all the objects from all the earlier layers. That means that adding a new layer always doubles the total number of our objects. Naturally, if all we did was duplicate the lower layers, all we'd see would be the same object, or set of objects from layer 0, or rather a copy thereof, just covering up the objects from the previous layers. That would be a rather pointless exercise in futility. To prevent that, we will, with one optional exception, rotate the added layers. Okay, it's time to create our first duplicate and place it on layer 1. We'll make it red for the moment, just so we can tell the duplicate from the original. Of course, as you can see, the red duplicate in layer 1 is completely covering up the original in layer 0. As mentioned, we would rotate the added layers, but with one optional exception. Let's just get that exception out of the way right now. Instead of rotating layer 1, we're going to flip it horizontally. Now we can see both objects. Both belong to the final Kruhotvar, so we'll turn them both white. We stack layer 2 on the top and place the copy of the two objects onto this new layer. As before, the copy is covering up the two prior objects. To uncover them, whether completely or just partly, we'll rotate layer 2 above the center of the imaginary circle by 1/2 of the most recent rotation. What most recent rotation? The answer to that is in realizing that rotating a circle by 360 degrees will result in everything getting back to its original position. We will therefore presume we had already rotated everything by 360 degrees, and so we'll rotate layer 2 by 1/2 of 360 degrees, that is by 180 degrees. There. So now we have 4 objects in what is starting to shape up into a Kruhotvar. One in layer 0, another one in layer 1, 2 in layer 2. Next we copy all 4 objects and paste them to layer 3, which we stack on the top of it all. This gives us a total of 8 objects. As always, layer 3 is covering up everything we worked so hard to create. No problem, we just rotate layer 3 by 1/2 of the most recent rotation, that is by 90 degrees. At this point, our boring, non-artistic original object appears 8 times in the image, displaying several levels of symmetry. It is also becoming obvious why we made sure our single original was so narrow near the center of the imaginary circle. An object near the outer edge of the circle travels a longer distance during a rotation than an object near the center of the circle. Thus, the line near the center needs to be more subtle than the line near the edge. Let's move on to layer 4. We copy all 8 objects and paste them onto this layer. We now have 16 objects altogether, even if we can only see 8. Of course, we already know that we need to rotate layer 4 by 1/2 of the previous rotation, that is by 45 degrees. Now it really looks like a kruhotvar. Now it actually is a kruhotvar. If we wanted to, we could even decide this is the final kruhotvar and call it quits. There is no formal rule to determine when a kruhotvar is finished. The informal rule is, it's your work, you decide. Nevertheless, let's be bold and make layer 5. All 16 objects we have so far shall be copied there, and we rotate the layer by 1/2 of 45 degrees, which is 22.5 degrees. Now we have 32 objects in our kruhotvar. I think this may be a good place to stop, as adding more layers might give us an image so crowded it might turn into one big blob. Though our next lesson will discuss how we can continue adding more layers successfully, should we choose to do so. By now, the more mathematically minded among you have probably figured out why we started with the layer 0 rather than layer 1. If you take the number of the top layer and use it as an exponent of the number 2, you'll know how many times the original object or set of objects appears in the kruhotvar. If layer 0 was all we did, we'd have just 2 to 0 equals 1 instance of the object. We, however, finished at the layer 5, so the object appears in our kruhotvar 2 to 5 equals 32 times. That's it for this lesson. Hasta la pasta.